guys. October 25th, 2019, 6:05 a.m. And really quick, if you look right down there in the corner where your time is, you'll notice it's 5 days, 1 night till Halloween. Hope you enjoy. Here comes the video. Thank you very much. All right, guys. As I take this mask off, we got some stuff to talk about, and that is another invest in the Gulf. Yes, we have another one right where Nestor started, literally the same exact spot. We are at 70% chance of cyclone formation over the next 5 days. If you guys remember, we have been looking at that tropical intensity chart. In fact, we could pull that up right now. Why not? This is one of them. This is a heat index chart. It shows you the heat in the ocean. And look where this thing is pumping, right around this area where there's that warm signature right here. We could see south of Cuba and Cancun, Mexico. This is the hottest part of the Caribbean right now. So we're going to see storms forming out of here as long as the pressures, the jet stream stays up high. If it comes down low, it's going to kind of push this stuff down into this area by Panama, Central America, out into the Pacific Ocean. But we can still see we have a warm water belt coming right. We're just south of the north tip of South America, so these things would have to ride up. They can very much well come off the west coast of Africa, come down through the Cape Verde Islands, and then still strengthen this way. A lot of sand in this area, too, and a lot of times with the sand, if it's thick sand, it tends to rip these storms apart. If it's thin, it can actually aid in their development, believe it or not. We can get into that in another video. But what I'm trying to highlight here is all around these strip islands here, Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cuba. We got the Bahamas up here and all these islands all covered in this very, very warm water. So a lot of potential for cyclone formation now through the end of November, which is when the end of hurricane season actually is. That does not mean we will not see hurricanes after that. Obviously, we're seeing them before that. But right now, topic of conversation is going to be our next storm. I believe it's Storm 17, which would be OLGA, letter O. So we went through the letters pretty fast, guys. And when you click on this, we're at 70%. And we could read a little bit of this if you want. Showers and thunderstorms associated with low pressure system localized over the western Gulf of Mexico continues to show signs of organization, although satellite wind data indicate that the disturbance still does not have a well-defined center. Now remember, we didn't see a center for Nestor until that thing was shooting across the Gulf towards the Panhandle, Mexico Beach, Panama Beach, and we saw an eye right here. So I'll pull up the radar for you, and we can start seeing this thing really get organized. Now, I want to bring you guys back to what we were just witnessing recently. If I have it up, let's see. I might have to show you my desktop again. Let's see. I got an OLGA folder, don't I? Yes, I do. Here we go. So, just a day and a half ago, guys, remember we were looking at this chart right here, how we had this giant swirl over the center of the U.S., and we had this storm moving backwards, back towards Mexico. In fact, I should have that video. Where's the video? Here it is. All right, so just take a quick look at this. You can see this storm is moving in a southwestern direction while we were talking about that meteor there. Confirmed, by the way, confirmed meteor. I'm happy about that. But you can see as we had that big pull from the jet stream coming up, swirling over the Great Lakes, we had massive storms moving in an opposite direction. Okay, so this in turn was part of what OLGA has now become. This storm kind of sat over Mexico. This thing moved in the southwest direction, met with another one, kind of expanded and dissipated, and now it's reforming again. I could look at this all day. I'm sorry, guys. We've been showing this for 3 days now, but still, it's a very useful chart. And also, another thing we need to compare is the jet stream. Now, I want you to look at the jet stream today as compared to yesterday. See how that little flow is coming up in this direction over New Mexico and Arizona? Here's New Mexico, here's Arizona. That little buckle's right there. Now, in 1 day, that thing has moved. And now we can see it's right over Mexico, the west side or east side of New Mexico and Texas. Now, guys, remember this was the same setup we had when we had those major tornadoes in Dallas and in other places in Texas, down in this area here. Now, this flow is coming up a little bit more north, the hardcore part of it through Oklahoma, Kansas. We got Missouri, Iowa in there, and then all these states here are going to be under a lot of watch for wind today and possible storms if the moisture gets in there. So we could look at this satellite radio, and we could see satellite imagery, rather. Sorry, I'm still drinking my coffee. And you can see here we got a lot of flow of moisture coming up, and it's kind of cutting off right at Oklahoma, right where we showed the jet stream. So again, you look at the jet stream, you can see why all the weather is right here. There's some weather coming up from Canada. We have a system coming in from the west eventually, but this is the area to watch today besides Olga. So I want to get that in there as quickly as possible and let you guys know where a lot of this moisture is going to be coming from. So if I back this up here, you can see the Gulf is now moving in a normal direction. Everything's flowing up and to the east along with the pole of the jet streams. You see the jet stream cut right there. Again, you match it. There's the jet stream cut right there. So it matches completely. You can always go to the jet stream and get accurate information about where the flow of moisture is going to be going. So as we move this forward, you can see the jet stream dips down into Texas, that northern part of Texas, the eastern part of New Mexico there, just like we saw. And what is that doing? That is forcing all this moisture on the inside cut of that jet stream, and it's going to be pushed up like this, just like Nestor was. Now, we're going to be talking about a lot more of Louisiana than we're talking about the panhandle of Florida and even Alabama at this point. This thing looks like it wants to come right up the center by Marsh Island, no joke, right here, right through Lafayette, into Baton Rouge eventually. These are the areas they're watching right now for this thing to hit. If it becomes a significant tropical storm, it may not. It may still be just a post-tropical storm. It could be, it could stay an invest, but nonetheless, there's going to be a lot of rain and wind associated with this storm, and they're expecting it to happen soon. We can already see by the frame 200 of this particular chart that it's already starting to form. We're getting some more organization there, a lot of organization last night. As you can see, this was 18 hours ago. Sorry, guys, that coffee's getting to me. 18 hours ago is about right here. We had a little bit of formation, kind of breaking, and then we start seeing those dark black clouds. That's what we always look for, guys. And that's the same thing that shot down into the southwest the other day. So that's it in a nutshell of why you're seeing this flow of moisture right here. We have a big cut in the jet stream, kind of like coming backwards like this and then up. And that force line right here is pushing everything from Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, undercutting Iowa here and all going into the northeast. So it's going to be kind of crappy in the eastern states. That includes Florida and the Panhandle right now. The Panhandle could get some serious weather today because it's so close to the central area of this storm. So, sorry guys, a lot of words in a short amount of time. I was going to do a live stream here, but we're going to do that later. We're going to do a live stream a day now. And a video. Here's our GFS model that looks a little bit into the future. You can see that back end snow coming, guys. I'm telling you, it's just a matter of time before we are looking at winter storms up here on a weekly basis. Everything's kind of staying north right now in Canada for the most part, but you see that flow right there and it kind of disappears. That's because there's no moisture in the air. That doesn't mean that the cold air isn't there. It means there's no moisture on top of it. This is a moisture map, infrared. It kind of measures the particles in the air, but you can clearly see that swirl right there. And if we go back to the jet stream, you can see that swirl going on right there. So the centralized area, this is right off the coast of California, and it's swirling like this. Okay, so it's bringing all that moisture down, and we can see the moisture here, undercut, super moisture under the Great Lakes in the Northeast today. So again, I repeated myself, but still, it's got to be known. That's how you figure this stuff out. So with the GFS, or the GIF file we have right here, you can see they're predicting all that moisture from Olga to come right up through Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, part of the Panhandle of Florida. You see it gets pretty serious down by the Keys. That's a whole nother separate part of this. But this thing really wants to ride right up the kind of center of the Northeast, or the center of the East into the Northeast. And then at the end here, you see a low pressure up here. We could be dealing with a straight up nor'easter from this storm. We don't know yet. The charts haven't brought us that far ahead, but a back end winter storm also with that. So we have a high pressure bubbling down all the way almost to the border of Arizona and Mexico here, kind of through Utah and Colorado. You can see it kind of buckles right there. That's where we're going to see high level snow. There's no doubt about it. That's coming by the 27th of October. That's another 2 days. So this thing is going to be a fast mover, just like Nestor was. The Olga is going to be a fast mover. Probably not enough time to become any sort of Cat 1 hurricane, but tropical storm, yes. We actually we were one of the few places that actually called this being a tropical storm when it came to Nestor. So I'm not playing that card quite yet. I need to see more development here. This is a current snapshot of what we're going to be looking at. So the centralized area is probably going to be right around here. If they do form and they do come together, we could see an eye right in this area. But this thing wants to come straight up through the center of Louisiana. Let's keep that in mind for now. And that's what the jet stream's showing us too. The jet stream's going to be swinging like a pendulum. It doesn't always move west to east in the same exact shape. It morphs, it moves. We showed you a video yesterday of the North Pole and the entire jet stream system that wraps around it, and then eventually comes and we get our little piece here. So it's always morphing and moving and changing and all that stuff. So we got to keep that in mind as well. Here are the current spaghetti plots for this storm. If it does take this shape, and you can see, just like I said, most, if not all, the plots take it from about the western edge of Louisiana, right through the dead center of it, right through Baton Rouge, and then straight up the country into the Great Lakes. Now, one model has this thing trailing off to the northeast, and that's what showed the nor'easter possibly. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. These are going to change dramatically over the next day or two, but when you get a storm that's only 2 days out, especially these that form in the Gulf, there's not much time for change. So you kind of got to trust what's going on here, and then besides that, you got to just look at the local charts and keep up to date. So here's another version with a cloud cover. You can see 70% chance. We'll take a look at the Pacific. Not much going on there, as most of the Pacific energy gets pulled up into the Caribbean this year, or this time of year. South Caribbean, Mid-Caribbean, where Cuba and Cancun are, and then we have the Gulf here. The Gulf is very active right now, very warm, a lot of warm water. And you can see that here once again, guys. When you see those black clouds, that is the telltale indication of very strong storms. Now they're starting to connect, which is not a good thing. This would cover about 50 counties right here. If you put this over any state, this would be one of the major talking points of the entire day. So, all right, with that said, tropical tidbits, last but not least, so we can get an idea of what might happen after this storm. Goodbye, ads. All right, we're going to back up. This usually takes you a day before where you're at. Okay, we're at 25th. That's good. But we can see that energy really starting to build up, guys. It's almost touching the southeast corner of Texas right now. All right, this is going to be in about 6 hours. This is going to be the first 12 hours of Friday today. And then we move forward, and you can see, one thing that's a little different about this, we could see that snow coming in from the northwest, is you see the high energy of this storm is on the west side of the storm. Usually when you have counterclockwise rotation or any sort of organization to these storms, the east side is the most powerful because it's moving in a counterclockwise direction. That wind comes up from the ocean and boom, and hits whatever land it wants to. Right now, because of the disorganization, we have a lot of this power on the west side of the storm. So it's really just a giant, big, huge thunderstorm. And then we see it kind of forming, those rings link right as it's about to make landfall. Now, will that happen? We don't know. A lot can change in a 12-hour period just as storm being in the ocean. So it depends on the temperatures. It depends on the jet stream, that hook in the jet stream coming across. If that comes across first, this thing's going to launch straight up into the country. If the edge of that jet stream catches this storm, it's going to aid it to shoot this way, if that makes sense. So just think about this for a second. If this thing swings like a pendulum, it's going to catch that storm and kind of kick it out this way. Picture like this is a big foot and the storm's a soccer ball. It's going to come this way and boom, kick the storm out this way over the panhandle. But if this were to lift up a little bit over the next 12 hours and lift over the storm, that's going to allow this area to be an upflow over this area, and that's why you're seeing the spaghetti plots allow the storm to shoot straight up the middle. So I hope that all makes sense. If it doesn't, go back, listen to the beginning of the video, but this one's kind of aiding and showing you what would happen if the jet stream pendulum part, that little buckle, swings past and then allows this to go up. But at the same time, it's a double whammy, guys, because when you get a jet stream buckle like that, that is associated with tornadoes. Those are high winds being moved in a southern direction and then a very quick easterly direction and then north. Okay, so you can see it again. I know I showed you this chart 50 times. South wind, then a very quick south to east wind, and then a north wind. This is where you get your tornadoes. This is where things mix and match. They don't know what to do. So, all right, so we got tornado warnings to talk about later on today. We have a 70% chance of cyclone formation in OLGA, which would be our 17th or 18th storm of the season, most of which happened in the back end of the season, which is crazy, which means it could be a very, very busy end of October, early November, all of November, guys. So, and then look at that. We have the possibility of a nor'easter shape coming over the northeast if the jet stream holds true, followed by a winter storm, high pressure, and there you have it. So, All right, that was only 2 sips of coffee, so we'll see how the live stream goes. Thank you guys for being here so early. It's 6:19 a.m. on 10/25. You have 6 days to get ready for Halloween. I better start seeing some Halloween pictures, or I'm going on strike. I'm just kidding. That'll never happen again. All right, love you guys. We'll talk soon. Have a great morning. I'll be on live stream later on. Bye-bye.